All right, everybody, I'd like to introduce our final presentation at the Planet MicroCap Showcase Vegas. I know you're all extremely sad you wanted to see another 10 more, but we do have to end at some point before the networking event. So I'm very pleased to introduce our final presenter here, Ryan Gopal from Global Crossing Airlines.
Hey, thank you very much. My name is Ryan Gopal. I'm the CFO and EVP at Global Crossing Airlines. I'm lucky enough to have 4 of our crew here today. They're on a layover. It's my cheering squad up front, which makes it great. What I'm here to talk about is Global Crossing Airlines. I think one of the things I'd like to start with is if you're an investor in airlines, if you're familiar with airlines, you've heard that old adage, how do you make $100 million, put $1 billion in an airline and wait? That's not what we've done. We've created a very different model that's very unique. It's a kind of model that normally isn't available in the microcap world. It's usually the kind of model that isn't available for public investing. What we've created is a service company. And what our model is to provide services via aircraft that cannot be serviced by the mainline carriers and the mainline operators. And so in so much as we've created 3 assets, which I'll walk you through, which allow us to deliver the service. What I'll cover real quickly through my time is sort of what we've done since we started, some of the metrics of what we've hit, our outlook for this year, our fleet, passenger sales, cargo, pilot recruitment, certifications, and kind of an overview of the market. So Global Crossing Airlines launched in June of 2020 when we did a reverse merger with a Canadian shell. We entered into what we call our certification process. We became certified in August of 2021, and that's when we could first start flying for revenue. So when you think about the first asset we created was the certification. And what the certification is the certification is what allows you to go fly and generate revenue. It's the most important part. It's a huge barrier to entry, and it's something we achieved in August of 2021 with 1 aircraft. 2022 was our first full year of operation. In our first full year of operation, we did $97 million of revenue. We flew to 266 airports for 104 customers. Why that is, it's a relatively quick ramp up. Part of the strategy of what we did is we ended the year with 8 aircraft. Is we wanted to work with as many different customers as possible because our plan isn't to stop at 8 aircraft, it's to grow, and we wanted to be able to go deeper with the existing customer base. Customers we established were NCAA, dominant Florida Dominican Republican charter, leading charter operator to Cuba, and established significant U.S. government contracts. We also did a lot of work on not only building out a hangar facility, but adding to our certification to make it more valuable. Looking at key metrics and what we've done, as you can see, everything goes up and to the right, which is the idea. As an airline, from March 2022 through March 23rd, we've grown 110% on block hours. And you'll hear me say block hours, and because block hours is a metric by which we operate. When you talk about most airlines, and here's the real difference between what we've done and a scheduled carrier. A scheduled carrier will publish a schedule and hope that they sell enough tickets, they have the right load factor, the right ticket sales, and the right fuel prices to make a profit. The way our model is set up is we sell block hours. And so what that means is, what's different about that is we don't take fuel risk, for example. Fuel risk is passed through to the customer. We don't take load factor risk. We sell the whole plane. We don't take ticket sale risk, ticket price risk, because we've already set the price of the aircraft. What that does is it significantly reduces the risk profile of what we do. It takes a fixed cost business and makes it a cost plus business. And that's why we've launched our business. And that's how our model is significantly different from what you see from scheduled carriers. The other aspect of what we've done, average block hour per aircraft. So as we add aircraft, it's really important that we utilize them properly. In order to drive higher profitability, you have to utilize your assets more. As you can see, we're increasing that, and that's going up to the right. The other big part is our crew pool, pilot pool. You hear a lot about pilot shortages. We've made a concerted effort to grow our pilot pool. As you can see in Q4 or in Q3, we grew from a little over 60 pilots to 85, which is a 41% increase, and we're continuing to grow that. So again, when I talk about the assets we've created, the first one is the certification, the second one is our pilot pool, and the third part is the actual aircraft we fly. You need all 3 to make money in this market, and you need all 3 to make money in this business. And that's what we've set up. When you look at 2022, which is our first full year of operations, EBITDAR, we talk about EBITDAR in aviation The reason is if you own all of your aircraft expense flows through D&A. If you lease all your aircraft, it flows through rent. So if you want to compare an airline that has an operator that owns all their aircraft to an airline that leases all their aircraft, you look at EBITDAR. We are an entirely leased fleet, which is emblematic of how much little capital we've used to kind of grow to where we are today. We are EBITDAR positive for 2022, and we were EBITDAR positive in Q4 on an adjusted basis. Our adjustment is adjusted for the investment we made in cruise and cargo, launching our cargo group, because that's expensed. Going through to 2023, we have a base case, which is based on 9 passenger aircraft and 2 freighters. Base case revenue is $140 million, up from $97 million. As we add aircraft to the fleet, we will update that forecast. One of the reasons we're doing it that way is we can't necessarily control the timing of deliveries, which is one of the reasons there's an opportunity for us in the market, but it's also one of the challenges we have. So we want to just guide the market as we add aircraft. Currently, we are at 9 passenger as of today and 1 freighter. Our goal is to get to 12 passenger by the end of the year and 6 cargo aircraft. Keep in mind that 140 is based on 11, right? So there's upside. We believe there's upside to where it is. In addition, for the year, the goal is to grow at our Department of Defense, which I'll talk about, break ground on a new hangar. We're looking at adding a 330 to our fleet, which will expand it even greater, and complete ETOPS, which is another certification level. This was our fleet at the end of the year. These are our 8 aircraft. So we fly the A320 family of aircraft. We have in the 6 320s and 2 321s. These are all passenger based. This is our fleet that we had by the end of December. That fleet has grown since then. There's a lot of different liveries. Main reason is Plane Spotters seems to make a game out of taking photos of new liveries. It's free media, and our CEO is really creative. So our CEO did all these. He loves doing it. Our next passenger one will be a new livery for everyone to be excited about, which we're looking forward to rolling out. So fleet evolution. So when I talk about the third asset is aircraft. 8 aircraft by the end of this year, targeting 18, which will include 12 passenger and 6 freighter, and then 30 aircraft by the end of 2024. Why this matters. So we've put this in an 8K so you can find it. Unit economics. What are the unit economics behind this business that we drive? Our goal with each passenger aircraft is to generate between $150,000 and $300,000 of contribution margin per month, per passenger. The freighter is between $300,000 and $500,000 a month per aircraft. If you assume, assume that 8 aircraft pays your overhead. That's kind of your break-even level on the passenger side, which means that contribution margin drops to the bottom with any subsequent aircraft. So if you quickly back into the math of, say, 18 aircraft, assuming 10, let's just say 10 aircraft are being used to cover overhead, 8 are generating profit, you're looking at a $2 to $3 million a month contribution profit every month by the end of the year. And if you factor that in, our market cap currently is $54 million, around $50 million. So there's a bit of, I would argue there's a bit of a disconnect between where our share price is and the value we've created. And I think a lot of that I'd attributed to being in what I call OTC hell, whereas, everyone in MicroCap knows what it is. We are an S1, we have a registered S1. We are a K and a Q filer. We do trade on the NEO exchange, which I guess got renamed last week to CBOE. But one of the aspirations of us is as we grow this business is to no longer be a microcap, is to grow into our size. When you look at all our competitors, all the people who operate what we have as certification, none of them are worth less than $1 billion. That's just the platform that's been created. And that's just, aviation is big and aviation gets big pretty fast. When we look at delivery plan, the N285 has been delivered. It's just getting painted. N411 will be delivered in the next 2 weeks. So that'll get us to the 11. That was our base plan we discussed. The additional deliveries, we put out a press release Monday, which updated this, which actually had another 4 aircraft we've signed for that could be delivered in 2023 if everything lines up. So we're pretty optimistic. We know we're going to hit our base plan. We know we're going to actually beat the base plan as it relates to deliveries. And we're working hard to bring in aircraft as fast as possible because effectively they're sold. Who do we sell to? So a lot of people ask, who flies like this? Who are our customers? A big part of our business, and our customers change by the season, right? So in the summer months, which are coming up, we fly for other airlines like TUI, for example. We have 2 aircraft going to Amsterdam for the summer. We're flying for Lynx Air, so an aircraft that's going to Canada for the summer. We also fly for Cuban operators, tour operators out of South Florida going to the Caribbean islands. And that effectively is getting most of the passenger fleet busy. When you transition into the fall, that becomes NCA. NCA is about a 40 aircraft business. It's highly fragmented. We're differentiated in the sense of one of the few that offer a narrow body like our aircraft. We're one of the few that offer Wi-Fi, all business class configurations, and we've managed to grow that from about a 2 aircraft market share to about 6. Most recently, we're the NCAA. March Madness, we had 6 aircraft operating. We operated over half the flights for March Madness for men and women. And one of the jokes I like to say is, as we were going through the brackets, a lot of the contracts we would get is you would take the loser home. And so I would look at it differently than everyone else. I wasn't worried about my Buffett bracket. I knew if Duke lost, it was an $80,000 charter, and if Arizona lost, it was a $100,000 charter. So I cheered for very differently this year March Madness than any other year in my life. But and if you want to have stress, watch the games with that kind of on the line. We've also entered into multi-year contracts with Havana, Dominican Republic, and summer tour operators. Our Havana work, originally there's about 3 tour operators that fly multiple flights from South Florida to various areas in Cuba. As of April 1st, we have all 3 of them. So we're operating between 20 and 30 flights a week, and there's a potential to grow that to 60. The other aspects of what we've done is when I talk about the certification, there's things you can do with your certification that opens up other markets. What we've done is we secured an EASA TCO, which allows us to fly in Europe, which is a massive charter market. We got our IOSA certification, which allows us to fly for other airlines, which is why we're flying for Allegiant, Breeze, Avelo, Lynx Air. We're talking to Frontier, Spirit, multiple airlines throughout South America. With that certification, they can fly with us without having to do an expensive audit, which makes it a very easy. If they have a plane that goes down, if they have a plane in maintenance and they need something to fill a hole, we can go fill that hole. Again, service business. The other aspect we did is we got our DoD certification. One of the things about DoD certification is and Hector can attest to it, we thought it was going to take us about 4 to 6 months to get it approved. We got approved in 2 weeks. The downside was we didn't have a sales force or an infrastructure in place to go sell the work. We also don't have any capacity to sell them. So starting in the fall, we'll start flying for the DoD. That's a $6 billion market. So as you start adding up some of these markets, there's substantial, and this is passenger, there's substantial market that we have not only the certification, we have the pilots and the metal to go service. The other half of our business is cargo. So we got certified for freighters, freighter aircraft in February of this year. Our first one went to work. It's flying for the Postal Service. We have another 15 on order. What our market, our differentiation in freight is the aircraft we're using. We're using the A321 freighter. Why that is different is if you look at the U.S. market alone, there's about 400 aircraft 757s operating in the freight. Within 5 to 10 years, all those aircraft will be retired, and they're going to need a replacement aircraft. The best, and I can talk your ear off why, but the closest proximity to the amount of materials you can take is a 321 freighter. It could take double the capacity on containers than a 737. We believe that's going to be the replacement aircraft for the 757, which is a 400 aircraft market. We're the only authorized operator in North America. We're the only authorized operator in South America. And we have the next 15 set for delivery. So if anyone else wants to chase us in this business, they're 3 years behind. These things will throw out between $400,000 and $600,000 of free cash every month. Imagine what we have when we have 15 of them. And we will have that within the next 2 years. Who will we fly for? So we will fly for other airlines, and we're talking to various cargo operators to provide it. Automotive, there's a huge automotive market, flying stuff that crosses the border to get to the factories. The U.S. Postal Service is a $4 billion business that currently flies primarily on 757s, which we think we're going to get a lot of. The Department of Defense, again, once we're certified for Department of Defense, we're going to target that. And package carriers. So if you are a package carrier, your cost per cubic foot flying on a 321 versus 737 is half. The reason is, and it's all about the number of containers. If you see here, a 321 could take 14 containers, where a 737 can only take 12. A 737 only could put bulk in the belly, and we could put half containers in the belly. Because of that, we can take 55% more containers than a 737. Market adoption of this is occurring. The people who have, the big user of this is Lufthansa. They've converted all their 321s into 321 freighters. Qantas has done it. Japan Airlines has done it. And we're the only North American operator. So we're the leading customer here in the U.S. Pilot recruitment. Everyone here plays a big role in pilot recruitment. We've been pretty successful, I think, at growing our pilot class. We recruited 55 pilots in 2022. We've already almost doubled that in 2023. I think we offer, and they can attest to what it's like to work there and why they joined. But we offer kind of a differentiated offering. It's a different offering. If you are an experienced pilot who's coming from overseas and you don't want to be number 11,250 on United's on the right seat, you have the ability to go direct entry into captain. We have a pretty exciting growth model, and I think you don't spend as much time in hotels unless you're in Vegas, which case they've enjoyed that. Finally, the certifications, I talked about it briefly. We achieved all of these in Q1 this year. So when you look at some of the investments we made last year, getting EASA TCO allows us to operate all throughout Europe, and that's a massive charter market. IOSA, and one of the reasons it's a big market in Europe is they have the Passenger Protection Rights Act, so the cost of an airline to cancel is severe. What's happened is that all the unions have allowed, I don't know what the right word is, but allowances for them to do certain amount ACMIs so they can not be hurt as badly by cancellations. If that comes to the U.S., and I think we all kind of sense there's going to be some sort of thing coming to the U.S., the incentive for them to subservice versus cancel the flight will become great. And again, we are the only airline really situated to go deliver that service when it comes to the U.S. IOSA, again, that allows us to work easily. You know, it's one of the highest safety standards in aviation. There's only, I think, 80 airlines who have met this standard. We're one of the fastest to achieve it and one of the only charter operators to have it. And again, Department of Defense, which is also one of the hardest certifications to get, and we have that in place as well. All this does is grow our market size. The great thing about the way we're structured is we can fly anywhere in the world at any time. If a plane can get there, we can do it. So as economic situations change in different regions and different countries and different customers, we can move our metal to where the business is. And that's one of the reasons it's a really good flexible model. Capital markets, one of the things that a lot of people worry about is warrant overhang. So we did have about 7 million warrants. As of 4 o'clock today, they're all gone. So our issued and outstanding is 56 million. For ownership is about 41% is board and management ownership. We do an employee share purchase plan. We provide RSUs. I think over half the company has some form of ownership throughout the company. We encourage it greatly. These are gone as of now. The warrants that we do have left, they have blockers in them, so they can't convert to more than 4.99% of common. So our effective warrant hang is kind of gone, I think, or severely minimized from where it was. So I'm excited that this is gone because it's always something I've had to deal with. But again, our share structure just got a lot tighter today. Finally, this is always a fun slide. This is just a sample of some of the 70 teams we flew over the last year for the NCAA business. One of the reasons I like it, it presents really well in a big room like this, but it just is an example. It's interesting when you actually see the brands of who we fly for, and this is in our first year of operation. We have an 80% repeat rate, and one of the goals of us is as we add aircraft is to fly more and more for these customers. One of the things we're seeing in NCAA is as they sign these massive TV deals, they're using their charter offering as a recruitment tool. Here's how you fly. I'll fly you. You don't bus you. You don't take trains. You do all these other things. So we see this market continuing to grow for us. Finally, we've registered a ton of trademarks. Again, trying to create as broad of a customer base because we have a lot of aircraft coming, so we can service it going forward. And then that's this last slide I had. So, in so much as you want to get a drink, feel free to ask me questions now. Otherwise, we can go from there. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a couple ways you do it. One of it is, there's a very strong broker community. So a lot of it is driven by brokers. We also work closely with you do get a lot of repeats. And then so one of the biggest differentiators is just having the availability right now. So I think if you think about our different market segments, we tackle them all differently. Cuba, we worked individually. That was through personal relationships. NCA is really through brokers and then repeat business. ICE government work, which we do a lot of. There's 15 aircraft flying a day for the U.S. government doing deportees. We had 1 or 2. We are actively bidding 4 or 5 right now to go fly for them. So they're kind of coming to us. We have another unique segment where we created an airline called Redway Airways. It's out of Lincoln. It's kind of an airline in a box. So we don't take any of the risk. It's sponsored by the city and the airport to try and create service, but we just sort of provide the service and they sell the tickets and we fly the flights. So it's definitely a B2B. So we won't market. We don't do advertising. It's really much more of a B2B. And there's not a lot of people who do this. And so we get known pretty fast as to what it is. But a lot of the other side is going to different airlines and letting them know the service exists, signing the MSA. So when they do have a maintenance event or they do have a capacity issue, they just can call us and everything's preset, and we can scramble the crews to go do the work, which we do. Yeah. So of the 7 million, 2.2 were exercised by a single shareholder, and the rest expired. They're gone. They're gone as of like 30 minutes ago. Bye-bye. Yeah. Yep. So we get paid in advance. We get paid 10 days in advance. We don't fly until we're fully paid. So we don't incur any cost till we take off. Well, we also have no leverage once we land, right? So we do that. Now, it's interesting with the Colombia, they actually approached us about sending 5 aircraft to go rescue those people over the Easter weekend. Colombia being Colombia, they couldn't get it organized in time, but we are actually creating an AOC in Colombia for our freight business will allow us to fly all throughout South America. Yep. Yeah, so when you think about the kind of aircraft we target between 12 and 18-year-old aircraft. Most of the airlines you see out today want brand new aircraft. And the reason is scheduled carriers can schedule their aircraft 13 to 14 hours a month to get, a day, to get the utilization so they can afford the $400,000 or $500,000 lease rate. They generally return the aircraft at 12 to 18 years because the maintenance cycles make it impossible to utilize 12 to 14 hours. We target 4 to 5 hours a day. So we can take older aircraft, but there's not a lot of supply and demand. The supply is being created every day. Airbus is delivering 40 aircraft a month. But there's not a lot of airlines like us who want the aircraft at 12 to 18 years. So while COVID was a massive, the pendulum swung ridiculous for us. There's still a lot of opportunities out there. So we're seeing increases a bit, but we still have plenty of supply. Like we signed 2 LOIs this summer deliveries that were maybe 10% higher, but nothing like pre-COVID. I got 1 minute left. Yeah. So 57 million issued, 67 now fully diluted. Cash, I think the last quarter was 7 to 8 million. You show restricted cash on our balance sheet of a high number. That's because we get paid into escrow in advance. So that's the advance payment for future flights. We have 6 million in secured debt and a 2.5 million unsecured debt. So relatively lightly capitalized. To give you an idea, we started this in June of 2020. We are now at 500 people, 10 aircraft, projecting over 150 million in revenue. We've done that with less than 20 million of capital to date. So it's been efficient. We're excited about what we can do as we're at that point of operating leverage going forward. All right, so that's everything. The bar's open. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.